welcome to FPTV and welcome to FPTV new releases, and welcome again to our 12 Days of Halloween event. And Laura Dodd, FP's head book buyer, hello Laura, and myself are privileged to be joined by Stephen Graham Jones, the author of The Only Good Indians, out now from Titan, and Night of the Mannequins, out now from Tor.com. How are you, mate?
Doing great, man.
Yeah, you're looking good. And as we were talking about before we came online, you're very Halloween appropriate set of skulls in the background there, mate. That we're really feeling that. The more gothic iconography, the better, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So, mate, what can you tell us about those two books specifically, which, by the way, you can link to and purchase from this interview?
Mm-hmm. The Only Good Indians is, well, both these are slashers, I guess. Slashers are my favorite genre of horror, and so I figured, why not just do what I love? The Only Good Indians is four guys are out hunting elk on the Blackfeet Reservation, and they kind of commit a trespass, a crime. They walk away from the field that day. 10 years later, turns out something remembers that day, and it's coming for them. And also, there's lots of basketball. And Night of the Mannequins is four kids about to get out of high school pull a prank at the local movie theater. They smuggle a mannequin into the theater to leave it there for the manager to find. And as bad luck would have it, one of them sees that mannequin get up and walk out with the rest of the crowd. And lots of people die in this one.
Great. That's my favorite kind of book description, by the way, or any kind of entertainment, But when there's a lot of death on the cards, that's all.
Yeah,
I mean, I've always been, I must admit, I've had second thoughts about reading that particular book because mannequins have always, like so many people, scared the shit out of me, and just that Twilight Zone episode alone, has stayed with me for the rest of my life. So you're incredibly prolific, aren't you, mate? So
I do a lot of writing. Yeah, like for me, I hide on the page. I guess I hide here at the keyboard. Like the world doesn't really make sense all the time, but I can make it make sense on the page.
Yeah. How did you get into being an author, and at what point did you feel that calling, and did you know this was what you were going to do with your life?
When I was in fourth grade, I read Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls, and at the end of that book, and in that novel, there's a lantern hanging on an axe head that's been stuck in a tree. It's been there for 20 years, 10 years, something like that. It's all rusty. I remember holding that book closed and thinking, I can do that. I can stick an axe in a tree and hang a lantern on it. And I knew from then that I could tell stories, that I could end things anyways. But I only ever planned to be a farmer. I figured I would ride at night and drive tractor all day.
Yeah, I think writing all day and never driving a tractor is probably a good outcome, right?
yeah, it is.
So Laura, I know you're a huge fan. I know you got a bunch of questions.
Yes, yeah, I do. So, are you still lecturing at the University of Colorado? Is that correct?
I am. Yes.
So you're apparently their resident horror specialist. How does someone get that gig?
When I came to CU, to University of Colorado at Boulder in 2008, I only had one horror novel out. And then since 2008, man, I've probably published 20 books or so. And I bet a solid 15 or 17 of them have been horror. And so I guess that's just how it works. And they let me teach horror. I teach a werewolf course, a slasher course, a haunted house course, a zombie course.
That's amazing.
And it's a ball for sure. And all the local news stations, whenever it's Halloween or a full moon or Friday the 13th or whatever, they always call me up to get me to say something.
Yeah. I mean that's wonderful. I mean I think that's it's. I mean it seems to me like it's very much a case of, if you say to the 15-year-old you, hey, if you ever became a college professor, what would you like to do? That's the answer that you've got right there. That's an amazing thing to be.
Yeah, I'm extremely fortunate that they let me teach what I want, and that I have students who want to write that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah. And who are your favorite horror authors, Steve?
I mean, of course, Stephen King. You know, I like Tananarive Due, and Gemma Files, Paul Tremblay, Josh Mallerman, Grady Hendrix. I just read Laurel Hightower's Crossroads, a little novella. That was pretty properly disturbing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great description, I think. Yeah, actually, in this arc, we're also talking to Tremblay and Hendricks. We've got
Oh, nice.
so your interview is in a sequence with those guys. So
Cool.
that's a nice confluence of super talented horror authors, as far as I'm concerned. Laura, what else have you got for stories?
Yes, yeah. So I'm particularly excited. So I'm like a huge zombie nut, especially Resident Evil is like my my jam. So if we're going to talk a little bit about zombies, what's your kind of fave take on zombie fiction, and what would be like your favorite book in that genre?
My favorite zombie novel is going to be Max Brooks's World War Z, which I know is the easy answer, but it's so well written. I think it's amazing. For one that's more, yeah, for one that's not as like central to everybody's conception of zombies, I would probably say Amelia Beamer's The Loving Dead, which has got zombies and airships, and it's really pretty good. My favorite take on the zombie, just of all media, you know, I think my favorite zombie movie is still Return of the Living Dead from '85. You know, where that's where brain eating got to us, and I just love that the combination of comedy and horror with all the zombies and everything. That just is so. I know, you know, Max Brooks says that killed the zombie for a decade, and he's probably right, but I think it was worth it too. You know.
Return of the Living Dead. Who was that? Dan O'Bannon who did that?
Yeah,
I remember that correctly. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he was a very unusual talent, wasn't he? That's the thing about him.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you look tonally, the movies he's involved with are all very different, actually. You know, because there's Alien, there's Dark Star, which is a great film, not a horror film, but I mean, I think he was a unique talent. He was in a class of his own.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, that you're going to be contributing an XMen story to Marvel Comics. Ridiculous Voices. How did that come about?
You know, they just called me up and they said, "Hey, do you want to do this for us? And if you do, what character would you want?" And I said, Silver Fox. You know, Wolverine's old kind of wife, girlfriend, and because she's Blackfoot, I'm Blackfeet, but back in the late 19th century, that was all one people, pretty much. You know, and so of course I'd want to write about her.
Yeah, fantastic. When does that come out, mate?
I believe it's November. It's pretty quick here.
Oh, nice and soon. Yeah. So next month. That's going to be awesome. And are you a Marvel fan? Are you a comics fan?
Yeah, definitely. I teach a comic book course as well.
Right, that's what I'd love to do, mate. I would love to do that. Fantastic. Yeah. So break down your comics course for us. What kind of arcs do you teach in?
You know, we start with Jim Shooter's Secret Wars from like '84.
Excellent.
You know,
Very good. Yeah.
And then we go directly from that to Watchmen, because I think starting with Watchmen, you don't understand how revolutionary it is until you understand what's been going on. You know, the state of things. And then, you know, when you're in '86, you've got to hit Mouse and Dark Knight Returns. And sometimes we come up through the Image stuff. Sometimes we don't. I've done it a lot of different ways. And we usually find our way through Fun Home, and sometimes we go through Saga as well.
Yeah, that's a great choice. Yeah.
Oh man, it's so much fun. Yeah, and you know, my big problem with that course is sometimes I'll assign 16 or 18 books, and we have like 14 or 15 weeks. You know, so we have a heck of a time getting through everything.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I think Secret Wars is a great, very interesting place to start, actually. Laura, do you know what Secret Wars is famous for?
I don't know. Go on.
Many things, but it is the introduction of Venom. So it's when Venom first appears, but not as Venom, as the symbiotic all-black Spider-Man suit.
Right.
That's it first appeared in Secret Wars. Yeah, and it's kind of retrospectively explained, actually, isn't it, Stephen? You know, so I think that's a very smart place to begin. Man, I'm kind of thinking I want to sign up for your course, you know, kind of from a distance.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's funny about Peter Parker getting the black suit in that alien fortress is that the shooter, because they were tied in with the action figure line, they were like under orders to come up with new costumes for all the characters so the action figures would sell better. And so we got the whole Venom and Carnage and all that stuff because they needed to dress Spider-Man up different to sell more toys, you know?
Yeah, right. Which is incredible, isn't it? I mean, it is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's something that it's amazing what a sort of you know, it's got quite a large degree of creative integrity to say that it's really all about just supplying a toy line, and I'm sure that is undoubtedly Shooter's influence. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that I mean, because if you look at something like, say, Superpowers a couple of years later, even though it's Kirby and Kirby's a genius, that's more of just a perfunctory,
Yeah.
kind of toys as comics kind of deal. But Secret
Yeah.
Wars is an actual story, and
No, yeah, it totally is. And Secret Wars number 4, maybe it was number 4, was the first comic book I ever read. I found it on a random round rack in a gas station, and it just changed my life. From that moment on, I was hooked. So that was my baptism, my introduction to comics was Secret Wars. And so that's probably why I start my students there as well. I mean, I should take them back to the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the EC Comics, to everything else, but I mean, I give them that stuff in a lecture, but we start reading at Secret Wars,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about EC actually, whether you're an EC fan or not, because
Oh, definitely. I love those EC stories. I love that they're so small and you know what you're getting when you duck into one,
Yeah. No, so true, mate. Laura, back to you, mate.
Yes, yeah. Just wondering, on the comic book graphic novel front, would you ever want to see any of your books realized in kind of a graphic novel format? And is there any artists you rate in that field?
Oh man, Demon Theory. I'm already like a little bit into turning that into a graphic novel. We've done the first issue, and I've got the next 5 issues scripted out. Demon Theory is a novel I did in 2006, I guess. And I've got a graphic novel coming out. I think it's going to be next year, and it's a kind of an action thing, not really superheroes. But as for adapting, I think 2 of my books would adapt really well to graphic novel form, or just a serial form too. Either one. The Last Final Girl and Zombie Bake Off. I think both of those are kind of made to be in panels.
Yeah, no,
quite interesting. Yeah, definitely. Do you think you'd ever want to as well kind of write in any existing universes, so like Alien or Predator or anything like that? Do you think?
No, I would definitely jump into that. It'd be fun to get handed that like 300-page Bible, and told that you can't do this, you can't do that, but you can do this, and I think that'd be all kinds of fun. Yeah, I've got friends who have written Predator and Alien, and they say it was a ball, and I've actually had a chance to write in some other universes, and it's just because of scheduling, it hasn't worked out yet. But pretty soon the whole will open up. Yeah.
You know what, mate? Hearing you say that, we should hook you up with the people who published the Alien novels. Who is that, Laura? That's right, it's us. Legit, it's 100% us.
Who published your books, Titan? There you go.
So at the end of this, mate, because my day job is working for working for Titan. I edit books for Titan as well. We should have a little chat when we're off camera, mate. Because not that we're putting you on the spot in the middle of an interview. I would dream of doing that, but you're clearly the right man for the job. That's awesome. Actually, what have you been reading and watching during the pandemic, during lockdown?
Just this morning, I finished Jeremy Robert Johnson's new novel, The Loop, and it was pretty amazing. And I'm teaching a grad seminar on the Western right now, so I've been reading. I just finished Lonesome Dove, and I just been reading all the Westerns, and it's been so much fun. I love Westerns. Let's see. Before that, Rebecca Roanhorse's Black Sun, which comes out this month, I guess, which is amazing.
I love her Star Wars stuff as well. Incredible.
Yeah. No, she's so good. As for watching, probably the 2 shows I'm most into right now on television are Ted Lasso and The Expanse. I read the first Expanse book, and I was waiting until I read the rest of them to watch the series, but then I accidentally fell into it. And now I'm going off through it, you know?
Yeah, everybody I know who's watched The Expanse massively gets into it, and in
Yeah.
fact, the guy who owns Titan is a guy called Nick Landor. He's a huge Expanse fan. You know, he's a bit
It's
of
really
an
good.
Expanse evangelist. And
Nice.
to flip back, I'm just thinking, have you the confluence of like comics and westerns? Have you read Pulp by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips? Have you heard of that book?
Pulp? I don't think I've read their criminal stuff. I don't think I've read Pulp.
So basically, the most recent stuff on the stands is a
Okay.
standalone graphic novel called Pulp, and it's a confluence of the western and of the crime novels they're so famous for. Basically, it takes place in the 40s, and the lead character is a guy who, when he was a kid, was a notorious Western outlaw. Half of it takes place in the past, in the Wild West, and half of it takes place in the gangster era. But I think you would enjoy it, mate. I think it's a great piece of work. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. No, I love their criminal stuff. It's just so clean and stripped down, you know. And like, who is it? Is it Frank Miller? He's doing the introduction for one of the trades, and he talks about how the panels and the layouts are so regular, and what we're supposed to get from that is the sense that you're walking between buildings, you know. They're on each side of you, you know.
Yeah, no, it's such a great observation. And with regard to westerns themselves, what are your favorite western movies?
Oh, of course I love Unforgiven. Who can't love Unforgiven? Tombstone. I guess Unforgiven and Tombstone were the ones I fell in love with, you know, in the 90s, of course. Let's see. I really like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, Print the Legend, right?
Exactly. And I mean, who doesn't like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? I just watched that the other night. That's so much fun.
Such a great piece of work.
But you know, where I fell in love with the Western, I think this isn't the first Westerns I saw. This is where it like catalyzed inside me, was when I was probably 18 or 17. I saw Young Guns, you know, and I was just the right age for that to like change my life, you know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Young Guns is supremely cathartic, isn't it? I mean, it's got that, but while it might not be, you know, there's certainly moments of historical veracity in it, but it might not be true to the letter of what actually happens. That climax, you know, ride the whirlwind, you son of a bitch. That's great. When I saw that, when it first came out, everybody was like fucking standing up in the cinema and cheering, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And then in the second one, they had Bon Jovi doing the song.
Right. But that's a great song, though, isn't it? You know,
it is.
You know, you put that on at a karaoke bar and everybody's up and singing to it. You know, so true, mate. I think you happen to have just chosen the two recent westerns, which I think are both great achievements. Unforgiven is an incredible piece of work, I think. Incredible rumination on the realities of frontier killing, rather than people being super dexterous with six guns and whatnot. And Tombstone is a great film, just a great film.
Yeah, and Tombstone, just like Young Guns, I don't think it's that historically accurate. I think probably Kevin Costner's is more loyal to history, but I prefer Tombstone still because it's so much fun.
And I think you're right, and it's so hugely charismatically played, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, you know, he's a great Wyatt Earp. Kurt Russell's great Wyatt Earp, and you just cannot beat Val Kilmer's performance as Doc Holliday. I mean, it jumps off the screen, right?
Yeah, he totally does.
Yeah. No, so true. Have you ever? Do you think Western horror is something you'll explore some more as you move along?
I do. I've only written one Western horror story, and that was like 13 years ago, I think. And no, I think that coming out of this class, my head is going to be so filled with like horse opera stuff that I'm probably going to have no choice, you know? Yeah.
No, I very much look forward to that. We are kind of going full belt, almost as if a posse were chasing us into the end of our time together. So, Laura, I know that you've got a couple of key questions you want to close out on. What have you got?
Yes. So now we've been asking kind of all the authors taking part in 12 Days of Halloween what scares them the most. Now you can either be serious or you can be you can spitball. It's up to you. But yeah, what scares you the most?
What scares me the most is people bodies with animal heads. That's terrifying
Oh.
to me. Yeah, like so those commercials with those insurance commercials with the people in suits with like Weimaraner heads, those just disturb me to no end. And you know, and it comes from, I was talking to my mother about 4 years ago, and she was telling me she had me when she was like 15 or 16, and she still had her dog she got when she was 12, a big old German Shepherd, and she said she'd have me back in my room in a crib, and she finally had to get rid of that dog because she kept coming into the nursery, and that dog would be leaning over the rails growling at me, you know. And I think that's where I imprinted on, because my mom always filled that space, a human, but then suddenly there'd be a dog head, you know. And I think that's why I wrote Mongrels, really, just to try to exorcise my fear of dog head people, you know.
I think that's a great answer. I wasn't scared of that until you explained it, and now I am. Laura, what else, mate?
Yes, yeah. So, what were we going to say? So, drawing your inspiration from different areas, different films, different books, is there any Native American kind of writers that have influenced your works as well?
You know, Louise Erdrich and Gerald Bisner are probably the two who have influenced me the most, I think. Louise Erdrich's Love Medicine, and actually the first 4 books in that, like, I call it the Machi Manito series, but I don't know what she calls it, but it's all like Faulkner's Yoctopatawa County. You know, it's all the same family connections and geography and everything. But the first 4 books in that series, Love Medicine, Bingo Palace, Beat Queen, and Tracks, I guess it is. Those books imprinted on me so deeply, so heavily, and they'll always be part of my DNA, and I'll always be trying to write something even halfway as good, I think, you know. And Gerald Bisner, he got into my DNA too, because his stuff is so playful. He's like writing cartoons that are just so cynical and biting that it's hard not to laugh, and it's hard not to feel bad that I'm laughing, you know.
I think that's a beautiful answer, mate, and also quite self-effacing, because I would say that you already have written something that's on the same level as those guys. So, you know,
Thank you.
mate, thank you so much for giving up half an hour of your time to talk to us.
Man, thanks for talking. This was wonderful. We could have gone on for hours.
Oh yeah, and we'd love you to come back and do one of our FPTV Talks To channels, which is more of a career retrospective chat where we talk about everything you've written, and we can go off in whatever direction you want. If you're up for it, we'd love you.
Yeah,
let's
have
you back for that.
Let's do it, man.
That's fantastic, man. So you have been watching FPTV New Releases 12 Days of Halloween with Stephen Graham Jones, talking about many things, including his 2 latest books, The Only Good Indians and Night of the Mannequins, both available here from forbiddenplanet.com. Thanks so much for joining us, mate.
Thank you.
Man, thanks for talking to me.
Take care of yourself. Cheerio.
Thank you.